What's up, people? So this is gonna be a how-to video. I got my daughter's car here again, the Chevy Aveo. It's a 06 and she's having some problems with it. She got stranded with it yesterday. She went to go put the vehicle in drive and all she heard was a thumping noise. The car wouldn't move or anything, wouldn't accelerate. So first thing I thought of was transmission problems, but after looking at it I realized it's actually the CV axle. So we're going to take a look at that and I'm going to show you what happened, and we're going to do a quick fix, replace the CV axle with a new one, and I'll show you how that's done. Alright guys, so as you can see, I got the car jacked up safely on 2 jack stands here, and I already took the wheel off. If you guys don't know how to take a wheel off, then you guys don't need to be doing this. I'll show you exactly what's going on here. See if I can get in here. There is the CV axle right there, and there's the other piece. This is the piece that goes to your wheel, and then you got the other end here. This goes to your transmission, and it just snapped off right there. And I've actually never seen these snap off like this. I've seen the joints go bad, but not for a CV axle actually to just snap in the middle. The thumping noise was this. When she put it in drive, this would just move around and it was hitting the structure here. So that's why at first I thought it was transmission problems, but as you guys can see, it's not. And actually this is a good thing, because the transmission would have been a lot more expensive to fix than the CV axle. So what we're going to do is we're going to get to taking this apart. It's pretty simple, not very hard at all, but I'll show you guys how I'm going to do it. We'll put the new one in there and she should be good to go. Oh, also, very important safety tip, always put on the emergency brake when you got your car up on jack stands like this. You don't want it to roll back while you got it up there and crush you while you're underneath it. Very important. Put up the emergency brake and chalk the back wheels. Alright guys, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to eliminate pulling as much apart as possible to try to get to this CV axle back here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen these 2 bolts right here. And as you guys can see, I already actually pulled the brake line here off. We might have to remove the caliper just to give it a little bit of movement, allow it to move a little bit more. What we're trying to do is we're trying to loosen this hub up so that I can pull out the axle and then put the new axle in. Also, we're gonna have to remove this nut right here, this axle nut. I already actually bent up and loosened this, as you guys can see, but there's a little tab here. Then once you tighten it, you just bend this down into the axle end of the axle. So just unbend this, pry it a little bit so that you can freely get this nut off. Real quick guys, I actually hit these 2 bolts here with an impact before I just took them off with the wrench, just so you guys know. If you guys don't have an impact, maybe use a wrench or a ratchet with a breaker bar, because these are a little bit hard to get off. You're gonna have to put a wrench on the other side too. Maybe spray them down with WD-40. I like PB Blaster. It seems to work better, penetrate better. But try those 2 methods. These are, you're gonna have to use a little muscle to get these off, or a decent impact. Same thing with the axle nut. You're gonna have to use a impact to get that off. Alright guys, so the next step here is I got the car in neutral. Like I said, make sure that you got the emergency brake on and the wheels are chalked so it doesn't roll backwards. Now we need to remove the other end of the shaft from the transmission. Actually, this just came apart. I'll pull this out. So this came apart. This is not the whole thing, but as you can see, those are the joints in there. Put this off to the side. What we need out is this part. Sometimes you need to use a pry bar to get in there. And this is the only part, in my opinion, that kind of sucks. Especially when it's hard to get to the shaft here. Alright guys, so what I did here is I actually disconnected the transmission mount here to be able to get to the other end of this CV shaft. I've been working on this, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, for about a half hour trying to get this out of the transmission. It was a pain in the butt. I just kept working on it, prying on it with the pry bar, and it came out just like that. Alright guys, so this is what we're looking at here with the CV axle out of the car. This is where it snapped. And then when I pulled it apart, this is the side that was inside the trans. This just came apart, and then this was what was stuck in the trans. Alright guys, as you're trying to pry this off of the trans with the pry bar, you're supposed to turn it. It was kind of hard to turn by hand, so I just got a oil filter wrench here. That was the right size, and I actually used that to turn it. Made it a lot easier, so that's just a little tip for you guys. Alright guys, so I went up to my local O'Reilly's, got me another CV axle here. It's about 80 bucks. It is a little bit different than the original OEM one. This one actually has the teeth on it. If you guys can see, might not be able to see in there. Yeah, this one's actually got the teeth on it here, which I'm told is for the ABS sensor. This car didn't have that on the CV shaft I took off, but I was told by the person at O'Reilly's it shouldn't matter at all. Should still work. And also this one doesn't actually have the rubber bushing or where it broke at. And they said they probably don't have that in there anymore because it was a bad design and they decided to redo it. But all I did was I just reversed everything. I slid the CV shaft into the trans first, did it gently, then I slid it into the wheel here, and then I just ran these 2 bolts. I got to tighten everything down, and also got to put the transmission mount back up so that I can actually test this and see how well it works. Hopefully everything works well. I'm just going to put the transmission mount in, and then I'm going to torque down this axle nut, and we should be good to go. The reverse was pretty easy, slid right in, no problems, and I didn't have to take anything else apart, didn't have to take the caliper off or anything to get the axle to slide into the hub here. So that was nice. All I removed was these 2 bolts, and that was it, and disconnected this brake hose here to give it a little bit extra slack. Other than that, everything slid right in. It was just a pain in the ass getting it out of the transmission, the old one. So let me finish buttoning everything up here and we'll see what happens. Alright guys, last but not least, make sure that your axle nut here is torqued down to specs, whatever the specs is for your car, and then take like a little chisel and a hammer and knock this into the groove so that this nut doesn't spin off or loosen or anything. I'm gonna knock this in here, give it a little dent so that there's a crease in there and it won't move. Everything's pretty much all taken care of and buttoned up. I'm taking it for a test drive. Alright guys, so hopefully this video helped anybody out that needs to change their CV axle in their car. If it did, hit that like button. You guys like what I'm doing on my channel here, hit that subscription button. You got any comments, put them down below, and talk to you guys later.